I used to be One Piece's biggest hater. Now, for a lot of long-term fans of the channel, you guys know that early on my channel, I always talked about I would never start One Piece, I would never give it a chance, I'd die before I watch One Piece. Originally, it was a joke, but just as time went on more and more, I was just like, it doesn't seem like it'd be for me. A lot of the misconceptions that I had regarding One Piece, as you guys see throughout my journey, they're directly confronted, and I'm a huge One Piece fan now. I mean, you guys literally saw my channel profile better change, you know what I mean? I did not think I would be as big of a fan as I currently am, and to think that this all started with a bet, which I'm not going to reference in terms of spoilers, I don't want to spoil people on JJK's future, but to think that I would come to love this series as much as I do off of just something as whimsical as a bet, I did not expect it. It's just very interesting to me. People talk about the One Piece effect, how like, oh, like you will hate One Piece until you actually give it a chance. Now, understandably, going through the East Blue Saga, the first 100 chapters of the series, it was a bit difficult. I'm not gonna lie. Some of it did feel like it was dragging. Obviously, the Syrup Village arc was just kind of I didn't really care for the villains. They seemed kind of cookie cutter. We got Usopp's introduction, which is fine, but it wasn't until Arlong Park where I was like, okay, I see the vision. I see what's cooking here. And then before that, we have the Badatsi arc with Sanji. And I really enjoyed Sanji's backstory specifically, but I think it's at Arlong Park where I was really like, okay, I think I'm semi-locked in. Now then I moved on to the Alabasta saga. Now the Alabasta saga was long, yes, but that was the point, I think, where I was truly starting to enjoy the ride with One Piece. And I went through Skypiea, I blitzed through Skypiea, and then after that, I was going. Water 7, Eddie's Lobby, I blew through that so quick. Dude, Marineford, I finished Marineford like the Marineford saga with Impel Down, Marineford, as well as the Return to Sabaody arc. I did that in like 2 days. I absolutely crushed it. By the way, there's some psycho that comment on the channel. He said he was watching 30 episodes of One Piece a day. There's no way, that's cap. There's no, brother, you was watching up to 14 to 13 and a half hours of One Piece daily? I don't believe it. I refuse to believe it. Now, obviously, as someone looking from the outside in, whenever I will tell my real friends now, hey, you need to watch One Piece, they'll be like, no, man, that's just too long. And I listen, from the outside looking in, it does look kind of crazy, though. Like, I'm 700 chapters in, people are like, 700 chapters? You got time for that? Listen, brother, listen. When you're going through it, when you're in it, it does not feel like there's enough. I'm not gonna hold you. Sometimes it drags. There's low points. Obviously, no piece of media you consume is perfect. I tell y'all this all the time. But when you're in that Marineford, it did not feel like it was as long as it was. I was just like, ah! Water 7, Eddie's Lobby. If that was like 20 more chapters, I wouldn't have been mad at it, chat. I ain't gonna hold you. Water 7 and Eddie's Lobby, I feel like people didn't hype it up enough for me. Like, they said I wasn't ready for it. I feel like I still wasn't ready, chat. I feel like y'all was still holding back for me. I still feel like y'all capped, because that was peak fiction. You know what I'm saying? So I obviously do understand what people mean when they say that it does seem a bit long. Another thing is the art style. Now, I did have a incorrect opinion in which I said that Oda can't draw. He has the worst art style. Usually, I would compare this to him drawing Ichigo or drawing Naruto or something like that. Now, some of those are fan arts, but I guess that just wasn't Oda in his prime. Because, I mean, Oda in some of these cover arts, I mean, he's just like doing whatever, and they all look great. Oda's art style is cartoonish, but he's still a very, very, very good artist. And as far as the choreography of these fights go, he does a really good job as well. Now, I will say that as detailed as the art gets with these smaller panels, it does tend to bleed, and it does tend to kind of overstimulate my eyes personally. I have to constantly zoom in on my phone. It does feel like there's just a lot going on. It's really hard to decipher all this information, or I have to just sit and stare at it for a second and be like, who is that? What is that? Sometimes it's not as clear, ideally, as I would like, but that's just a personal gripe personally. And then you talk about the world building. Now, I have read and watched series that I think have fairly good world building, such as Naruto, which I think is probably the biggest comparison I can make to One Piece, just in terms of sheer length and the cast of characters that it has. But this might just be recency bias, and it very well could be, but I feel like One Piece definitely does its world building better. As I mean, Bleach is not even in the conversation. I'm not gonna hold you. My opinion of Bleach has fallen severely in the past couple years. When I read from chapter 1 all the way to the end of the 1,000-Year Blood War in anticipation for the anime coming back, I was expecting a bit more than what I previously had read. I was like, okay, as a kid, I was like, oh, this is fire. Now it's not fire. And then I'm going through it, I'm like, was it though? I don't know. And now that I'm deep into One Piece, I'm like, Bleach is in the top 3. Pourquoi? Why? Look, chat. Don't come to me. Listen, I'm keeping it real with y'all. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Sometimes y'all not gonna say things that you like, but is Bleach all that? Oh, no. It's not bad. It's far from bad. Is it a little mid? If I tell y'all that I think Bleach is what people think Demon Slayer is, how would y'all react to that, huh? This is why I need scripts for some of these things, because I feel like I just speak off the dome, and I feel like I just say things that are from emotion, but it doesn't mean I don't think it. It doesn't mean I don't think it. I definitely was not ready for the character interactions within One Piece as well. As far as the character relationships, I did not think that would be the lifeblood of the series. It's about the feeling of adventure. Often with serialized stories, there's always a set destination. There's always a set thing we need to do. There's always a big sense of urgency, and the threats tend to escalate more and more and more and more and more. Now, you have some of this in One Piece, but it does feel like a grand adventure, like an early Dragon Ball. You're going along for the ride. You have some of these goofy hijinks. Mostly pre-time skip is where a lot of the comedy was really, really hitting in One Piece. Frankie was absolutely hysterical within his introduction as well. But it does feel like a cartoon. And now I know that feels weird to say, but it just feels so zany. And the character relationships I absolutely love. As goofy as the series looks from the outside in, you wouldn't think that you would have some of these very, very deep and interesting topics that Oda chooses to handle. Not even things such as racism within the Fishman Island arc, but you also have things such as genocide with the O'Hara Island. You also have governmental corruption. You have cycles of abuse that need to be broken. Just different things like this. It's just very interesting because it doesn't look like it. Something like a Naruto or something even like a Osama ranking of kings. You could kind of get that vibe from the outside, and like maybe this isn't as kid friendly as it seems, but in One Piece I didn't really get that on the outside. It's very interesting. You also have this idea that fans tend to overhype One Piece. Now I think that is strictly subjective, but I don't think so. I think people really say that, hey, it's gonna be just a little bit, but give it some time, it'll get going, we promise. But I don't think One Piece was properly overhyped or anything like that. I think that actually I was very whelmed for One Piece. I was ready. People did kind of prep me, so shout out to you guys. I really do appreciate it. You have the idea that the animation is bad, and while yes, the older episodes do look dated, the manga's art is absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, modern One Piece has shown that it has the ability to adapt. The sound design, while some people have an issue with it, I don't see it necessarily as a bad thing. I feel like it's kind of trademarked, but I do ponder the idea of what would modern One Piece sound like with the fantastic animation. I'm sure there's some fan animations out there that have been clapped by Toei, maybe, but I don't know. I genuinely was not prepared for how emotional One Piece would make me. Maybe because it's just that I'm getting older and I have more life experience, but One Piece is definitely one of the only series to make me cry multiple times throughout. I've cried watching a series here and there, but especially for something like a shonen, I rarely cry during shonen consumption. But One Piece, dude, when I cried for the first time reading Drum Island as well as The Going Merry, I wasn't expecting that, man. I didn't know Oda was just gonna come up, put some boxing gloves on, and just right in my stomach. I didn't know that was coming in, big brother. I didn't know that. Maybe more emotional than I ever got reading Bleach. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm sorry, Bleach fans. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I think for the last point of contention that I would say I had is that Luffy is a dumb main character. Well, yes, Luffy is simple. He is a static character, and there's actually nothing wrong with that. When you have a static character and they move very little, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. The world kind of shapes around them. Interesting thing is that we actually don't see any of Luffy's thought bubbles. He always just says what's on his mind and what he's thinking, which is cool. But Luffy does change in small ways as well throughout the story. He does learn things. Obviously, some of the experience that he had with Garp as a kid and how he's talking to Vivi in the desert when Vivi, he believes that Vivi is naive and her thinking that no one would get hurt in their conflict. And this moment really stuck out to me because I was like, Luffy actually thought about a situation like this? It's very kind of deep. And Luffy is very goal-driven, but Luffy doesn't care about some of the politics and the cultural differences with the things that he occurs. He just wants to do what he wants, whether it's right or wrong. Obviously, you know, breaking his brother out of a prison and letting all of these criminals out, obviously, objectively is wrong, but we still root for Luffy anyway because that's his brother. That's Ace. We like Ace. Ace is cool, and we love Luffy as a character, so we want to see Luffy attain his goal. It's funny because people think that the filler ruins the pacing in One Piece, and actually, I'll throw a small statistic at you. One Piece actually has far less filler than a lot of long-running shonen. One Piece actually has like less than 10% of filler compared to others being 40% plus. Like Bleach! But I also read the manga, and I just kind of dip and dive every piece of filler that goes on. I will say that the pacing for the anime, as far as where I'm at now, does feel like it's dragging compared to other shows, but I also watched Naruto during the war arc, so I kind of already know what I'm headed for with that. People think I'm just a shonen meathead. I need to talk about some other shows I've watched. Ooh, but wait, I like shonen. I don't know. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Are you guys also former One Piece haters? And you've been converted? You've actually heard the gospel? You changed your whole worldview? I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Let's be your boy Daffy, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Y'all make sure you take care of yourselves, guys, and have a damn good one.